obviously Maze and I are not totally familiar with this. You know, Maze, I know you're a little younger than I am, but I grew up with football excellence, right? Super Bowl after Super Bowl after Super Bowl with 49ers. And I honestly, until they lost to the Ravens, what was that? It would have been 10 years ago now, right? Or 2012. I don't know why I thought it was 2014. 2012, I legitimately didn't know that the 49ers could lose a Super Bowl. I thought it was against the rules, right? Now they've lost 3. They lose one recently on heartbreak, but it was, I don't know. I expected them to lose that game. I expected Patrick Mahomes to always come up with the play that needed to come up with to win that game because he's the greatest quarterback of all time. And still sad about it. Like, it didn't rip my heart out completely, but Woz, can you talk us through this just like football fan depression as a Jets fan?
Yeah, it's interesting because the Jets depression is the last time I thought the Jets legitimately could win a Super Bowl was 1998 when they lost to the Broncos in the AFC Championship game, in a game that they led at halftime, which felt like a gut punch. Believe it or not, we thought Vinny Testaverde was going to take us to the Super Bowl.
How could you not, man?
The last great Jets quarterback.
Yeah.
Exactly. Over John Elway. Even the Mark Sanchez, Rex Ryan teams, that felt like fount money. Like our offense was like barely competent, like barely league average. We had really good defenses. And even the greatness of our defenses were so fucking scheme dependent that like if a team just knew what the fuck we were trying to do, they could beat us. We weren't like overwhelming people with incredible Hall of Fame. Like there's no Hall of Famers on those Jets defenses, right? So what ends up happening as a Jets fan is that there's no commitment because by week 9, you know it's over. It's over. You don't get brought. You don't have a freaking crazy 11-week stretch where every time you turn on First Take, they're like, the 49ers are the best team in the NFL. Like,
which of their players should be MVP? Is it the quarterback or the running back? Right.
That's not a conversation that ever happens for the Jets. We have no MVPs.
What about going into this season, though? Like Aaron Rodgers in the mix? Like,
there was definitely hope this season, but it ended on the first drive, guys.
That's crazy.
Like if he now imagine if he would have tore his Achilles like week 17.
Right.
You know, like that would have
like
been
12
and they were 13 and 4 or something.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
That would have been like, oh my, I'd still be sick about that. But it was the first drive of the season. And it was just like, of course. And it just like the first drive. And
I still have that shot of Greeny in that watch party in my head. Just depressed as fuck.
Oh my God.
In the background, Dominique Foxworth.
I felt like I was being punked.
Yeah.
I felt like I was being punked, like by God.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah,
but he came back from that Achilles, right?
Unfortunately, 9/11 is just a bad date for New York, you know?
Jesus Christ. I mean, that guy.
Just a sidebar to OJ on It Is What It Is.
That's just an amazing thing to hear Waz say. Sidebar to OJ, but
they're just the best for doing that because that's the worst thing you could possibly do. And second, I don't know if you guys saw that clip where because Mace and Cam refer to each other as Murder and Killer.
Yeah.
Because those used to be their
Murder Mace,
rap
Killer
names.
Cam. Yes,
Killer Cam
exactly.
and Murder Mace.
Yeah.
And Mace he's saying, yo, Killer. And he's talking to Cam, but OJ answers because he thinks he's talking to him.
That's like Stu Gatz getting Trump to admit about the P tapes in Russia. That's that level of journalism right there.
Oh my goodness. He literally answers because he thinks Mace is talking to him and not Killer Cam.
It's incredible.
Oh, brilliant.
Mace, how are you doing post Super Bowl loss?
I'm trying to wean myself off of Twitter videos showing me how Spencer Burford, John Feliciano's replacement, should have blocked Chris Jones. I'm trying to not think too much about how Trent McDuffie timed that slot blitz so perfectly, how Brandon Ayuk stopped running on a go ball that would have been a touchdown. But it all comes down to the fucking leg on the punt return to me, man, because that is 49ers pain is botched punt returns.
That's where this, but that to me, that's where this like, that's where our age gap happens, right? Because I've seen this. I've seen like people on Twitter who are 49ers fans like, oh, this is 49ers fan pain. I'm like, no, man, I grew up thinking everything was going to work out because Joe Montana and Steve Young could do everything. Like, I'm telling you, I never feel that way.
The 49ers are like the Cowboys. Like when I grew up, there were 49er and Cowboys fans because those were the dominant teams. They were on TV every single week and they were kicking ass every single year. Yeah. So there's a lot of people that I grew up with that are 49ers fans. And it's not, there are no Seattle Seahawks fans in New York. Okay. There are no Minnesota Vikings fans in New York. There are people that love Randy Moss and so wanted to see them do well, but they didn't become Vikings fans. There's no Lions fans in New York. There's no Houston Oilers fans in New York. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, you had to be a team that was national in your dominance. And the Niners used to be dominant. In fact, they used to dominate the Cowboys.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, 5-year-old me, Zach, is going to a Super Bowl party, screaming at Steve Young, kicking the shit out of the Chargers.
5-year-old, 6'1" Anthony Bay.
Yeah. Blocking the screen. Everyone wants that kid to get out of the way from their 32-inch square box television set.
50 on the Chargers, bro. Stan Humphries.
Yeah. Massacre.
Stan Humphries, yeah.
So it's tough that was my last taste of the good stuff. And that it's been pretty tough. 2020 was worse, though.
I was rooting for the Niners. For sure. I have a soft spot for Brock Purdy. I think the conversation around him is stupid. And I say this because I'm a fucking New York Jets fan. Like, the idea that this guy isn't clearly competent, like, that he's not clearly competent, like, obviously competent, obviously just in his second year, is just obvious, guys. This isn't some caretaker. This guy is good. It's obvious. It's just, just as a Jets fan where it's like the best quarterback play of the last 12. I'm like, what are we talking about?
But
Brock Purdy's a Hall of Fame Jet after this season, period.
but Waz, you don't understand. He was picked last in the draft.
I know.
So he can't
that's a real bias though.
I did. People don't want to buy it because of that. It's fucking crazy. I'm like,
if he was a top 8 pick, top 7 pick, everybody would be like, wow, this guy's going to the Hall of Fame tomorrow.
I genuinely don't care if people think he's good or not. I think he's good. I'm happy he's the quarterback of the 49ers. I want them to maximize this until they have to pay him, right? Like, and then we'll see what happens.
I had to explain to Tom on Monday that he's making $820,000.
Yeah. Like it's crazy. And I do get a kick out of when people are like, oh, see, that's why he's a fraud. I'm like, what are you talking about? You didn't know who Brock Purdy was 2 years ago. Like you can't say this, right? It sounds so stupid, but I'll tell you, if they won the Super Bowl, I was just ready to tweet out, I got your game manager hanging right here. Like I was just like, I was ready to talk so much shit. And, but I also once they kicked a field goal in overtime, I was Mahomes was a wrap. Yeah. And even then, like people were like, well, if he hadn't missed that extra point I got blocked, I was like, then Mahomes would have just gotten a touchdown then.
I don't care about the like the ball first. Yeah, overtime, new rules.
Yeah.
Mahomes is inevitable.
Scores a touchdown, he wins.
I do think it's funny. We wanted the ball third in overtime. It's just such a funny phrase. Line. It's such a funny line. And just is like, look, this is Shanahan, right? I was talking to some friends recently, talking about like just coaches that I think are frauds in the NFL. And they're like, oh, but you think Kyle Shanahan's not a fraud? It's like, no, I know he's a fraud, but like, what am I going to do? Like, he's the coach of my favorite team. Yeah. I don't know what to tell you. I do like the comparisons happening between Andy Reid's start as a coach and Kyle Shanahan started of like lost this championship game, lost the Super Bowl, lost this championship, lost the Super Bowl, and then finally won in like the 5th iteration of this. So, next time
on a different team.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Well, I think this different team.
I think
he was because he was a coordinator for the
head coaching job though.
I think Shanahan
If he starts naming plays after food, then we're in business.
Oh yeah,
Shanny is slightly fraudish.
for sure.
However, the idea that you would move on and try to do something else is absurd.
They're so good under him. They have so much talent. Like
there's just no reason
it'll
to
work
do that.
or it won't work. But yeah,
he's got to figure it. Whatever.
Yeah.
Like they'll be good again. So
also maybe the fix is just like stop playing Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Can you get the Jets listening to some Dolphin sex so we don't have to deal with this shit next year, please?
Lord.
I mean, yeah.
Darkness retreats and all that.
The Ravens so clearly had the better team than me and so clearly just blew it.
They melted down.
Buffalo had it at certain points and just blew it. So, it's not like he's like just whooping their asses all up and down the floor.
It's just enough. We should not have gotten a Jets fan to talk about this, Maze. We should have gotten a Bills fan. That's the person we're going to talk to about this. They're the ones that know that pay. Like as Wos said, week 7 usually it's
highlighter,
over.
Full body stocking.
Bills Mafia, yeah. Hey, welcome to the Wosny edition of the OG Pod here on Count the Dings. I'm Zach Harper. That's Wosny Lambre. That is Anthony Mays. We are past our. I'm curing it. We're past our football depression. We're good. It's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine next year. It's gonna be fine. Because also the NFC sucks. So I think the 49ers have a great chance of getting back. Yeah. If they had any kind of competition, I'd be worried. But I'm not worried about the Lions or the Cowboys or the Eagles. We got a fun show here. We're going to talk Draymond Green versus Jusuf Nurkic in the. Well, he's going to talk. We will listen to him talk, and I listened to that whole fucking 38-minute episode. I watched the whole thing. Wow. There are some pods where like Jeff Teague's pod, I'm like, look, the clips are great and shareable. You got to listen to the whole thing. The whole podcast is good, right? Knucklehead's pod, same thing. Clips are great. You got to listen to the whole thing. It's a great podcast. The Draymond Green show, stick to the clips. That whole episode is rough, man. Oh my goodness. Maybe I just caught a bad one, but my goodness. But we'll talk about that in the Patreon exclusive portion of the podcast, which you sign up for at patreon.com/countthedings. But there is a big quote unquote report from ESPN that dropped today about teams going after LeBron James 24 hours before the deadline. We had the Warriors go after him. We had Daryl Morey call about LeBron James. And so it's the Demo part's funny. I do want to get to that, but the Warriors aspect of this, right? Like Draymond Green was texting Rich Paul trying to get him to like get a trade for LeBron to the Warriors. Obviously, teams want LeBron, right? Like, even at 39 years old, he's still fucking great. Like, he's not what he was, but he's still great.
It's hilarious because, I remember there was a point, maybe like in 2018, or was that 19, whenever he was trading all the baby Lakers, that people were like, oh, it'd be so funny if they just traded LeBron James, blah, 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 fuck LeBron, da, 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 da. And here's the thing, like, you can't just move LeBron James as if he's, Trenton Hassel,
Right.
He's going to have a say. One, because if you think James Harden can make a stink by being somewhere where he doesn't want to, LeBron makes a stink at places that he's happy to be at. So, like, this idea that you're just going to give, that somebody would actually give meaningful stuff away to the Lakers to bring him in is laughable. But two, like, if you watch the guy play it all this year, he's still really fucking good. He still affects winning. And it's obvious. And I think the Lakers I think what happened at the deadline was the Lakers were being like, LeBron's being a little diva. He's being a bit bitchy in the press. He's being a brat. We might be tired of this headache. We might be looking to our new future. We might be trying to take calls on LeBron James. I think those reports were legitimate. And LeBron was like, okay, bitches, you want to play this game? First of all, you can't just trade me because I'm a free agent in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
So not a lot of teams are just going to give you anything good just for a rental. You'll be wholly irrelevant the second you move me. Like, nobody's going to give a fuck about the Lakers the second you move me. And guess what? I got Madison Square coming up. Watch how geeked I get everybody. Just imagining
Give me a Knicks towel. Give me a Knicks towel.
I'll be a Knick. Give me a Knicks towel. Watch how geeked these people get. You think I can't be happy someplace that is in LA? You fucking crazy? I'm LeBron James. They're going to love me everywhere.
You know where they print money? Everywhere I go.
So it was, I thought, and by the way, I think both parties were justified. I think some of the shit LeBron was doing about the roster reconstruction or whatever, it's like, yo, remember when you traded for Russell Westbrook, you dumbass? Remember when we gave up all of our wing depth so you can get Russell Westbrook in here and fuck up our team? Shut your dumb ass up. You don't know how to GM. And LeBron being like, hold up. Look, I know I fucked up with the Russ thing, but I'm still LeBron, dummies. I'm still one of these guys. Like, you can't just deal with me like I'm a nothing entity. I'm still one of the most powerful people in our league. So I thought it was justified on both ends, honestly.
Yeah, I look at this as a couple of ways, right?
And last thing. Obviously, Golden State would be one of the places that LeBron could force his way to in a trade at the deadline.
Of course, yes.
In some different scenario because he wants to play with Steph.
Yeah. Well, first, you said that they would be irrelevant if LeBron was gone. I think you forgot that the torch got passed to Anthony Davis. So I don't know if that's accurate. Was. Yeah.
LeBron's been passing torches
44 and 38 and a first round exit doesn't just happen, buddy. Okay. Like, that takes work. Two, I think it's great. Like, I think you're right. Like, maybe we would take calls on LeBron, and Clutch just going, all right, fuck you. You want to know how bad this can get? Here's a story, right? Because this does feel very much like a story that that actually does help both sides, right? It shows that LeBron is still that guy that is wanted everywhere by the teams with the biggest stars and everything. Like, it does show that. It also shows in some of the reporting that, Rob Pelinka saying, oh, really? Well, is Joel Embiid healthy? Like, is he available? Can we get him? Right? Oh, is Kevin Durant available? You want him, Suns? Yeah, we'll take Kevin Durant off your hands. Right? Like, it's the whole, like, no, we're still star friendly. We're still like the destination, and we can use all this story building as acquisition of a star this summer to help round this thing out and push for another championship for the Lakers and for LeBron. It's just so, like, the fact, and I get it, like, apparently these conversations never got to actual negotiation because it's like, no, we're not trading LeBron James. That's fucking stupid. But without knowing what deals were actually going to be offered up, it's just so hollow to me. Like, this whole story is just so hollow on so many levels when you really break it down.
The Lakers would have to have insane balls, vision to do something like this. And also the idea that you would come up with this idea within a week of the deadline is also stupid. It's like, your plan to move on from LeBron James happened in a week? That's
OG Anunoby was trying to get to the Knicks for like over a year just by changing to CAA.
But you guys are willing to move on from LeBron James while giving it 5 days to mull over.
Yeah.
But they've never shown that level of, like, cutthroatedness. Most of their star experiences have dragged out. Move on.
The Kobe Bryant one, right? Like, they gave him a huge contract, even though the Achilles had popped, and it was like, yeah, what he's done for us, we reward him, right? Yeah. And there is value in that, in showing the league, like,
in LA,
right. Of course not. No, but it's still like, they will let that thing go beyond its, like, spoiled goods date, right? Like, that's the point. Well, they'll do it because it shows no matter what, we take care of our stars. You want to come be a Laker? Even beyond your best years, we will take care of you, which I do think has value.
I agree. And I think the Lakers, God knows they can sustain a couple of, like, okay, these years don't matter. And what I mean by that, when it was Lonzo Ball and a bunch of the young scrubs, like even the scrubby Laker teams will sell tickets that cost more than most people's mortgages. And so the money register will keep ringing. And you know what? Our fans are not going to be complete. We're not going to lose our fan base for this. We can withstand a couple of lean years talent-wise if it sets us up for the next thing. So like a lot of teams can't have that.
Right.
You know, like Portland can't just have, 2 years of a team that's San Antonio without Victor Wembanyama, right?
Right.
Like they just can't field that team for 2 years.
Those 2 years where they were shutting down Dame halfway through the season and they were incomprehensibly bad for the second half of the season.
Dame.
Yeah. They still had him like, oh, we'll have him back next season, right?
The Lakers could be like, yo, we can go 2 years without a Dame, a marquee thing. We'll sell mad tickets and we'll set up our next thing for, whoever, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I don't even know what his deal is, but like, whatever. Next superstar in some market that isn't as sick as ours, whatever. And so, yeah.
Because they've proven time and time again also, like, we don't have to wait for free agency. Some people just want to come to us.
Don't have to wait for free agency. Or, Zach, what if we do just be like, oh, we don't have the draft picks, blah, 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 blah. How about we just line it up? We get the word out to people. What we're doing is lining up cap space.
Yeah.
They get the word out to these stars. These seasons that you see, we lining up cap space. The next star that wants to come to LA and be an absolute fucking king, come into our cap space.
Yeah.
They can make cap space happen.
Oh, for
if
sure.
they run out of draft picks.
For sure.
And they can actually get the star, unlike the New York Knicks.
Period.
Right.
Period.
Well, also, like, the other part of that, too, is, as we line up, you're not available till 2028? No problem. Who's your agent? Who are his other clients? How about some big, like, contracts for 1 or 2 years each for those guys coming? Like the Kentavious Caldwell-Pope thing, right? LeBron was probably always coming to LA, but that stuff, like, helps line it up even more. It's all part of it.
Again, I would have loved to see the Knicks thing. Just trading LeBron for Julius Randle, cap fodder, couple of picks.
Bring Julius Randle home. Bring him back to LA.
Yeah. Remix.
Bring him home.
Bring him home.
We got to get to the hidden buried treasure of this article from Woj and Ramona.
Yeah, you want to read that?
Dunleavy was the second team executive to call Pelinka on a possible James trade, sources said, after seeing James's cryptic social media post of an hourglass a week before the trade deadline. Philadelphia 76ers president of basketball operations, Daryl Morey, called Pelinka to probe on a James trade and was immediately told that James wasn't available. In fact, Pelinka responded by asking Morey if Joel Embiid was available. Just a couple of GMs cutting it up. And that ended the brief conversation. These sorts of bold trade calls are historically a common practice for Morey, who also called the Phoenix Suns and asked about the availability of Durant, only to be told Durant was not available, sources said.
I had a girlfriend long ago who had she was always like, well, if you don't ask, you don't get. That didn't apply to me.
Mentality,
because I didn't get even if I asked. But that's there's a strategy to that, right?
There's a logic to it. I just love and this is part of the Daryl Morey lore. He's just constantly got trillions of deals.
Both.
Yes.
Fishing or history.
Yes.
That he's constantly got all of these things, these pots cooking, like he's always got something up his sleeve, any other euphemism you want to ask. And it's just hilarious, just the idea that he's just like, does Tobias Harris tickle your fancy? That's just fucking nuts. That's fucking nuts, man.
You got it, man.
Insane.
Oh man. I mean, Tobias Harris, he can get you 20.
Tobias Harris, who probably makes no, he doesn't make as much as LeBron because he's still on that other. That's crazy that Tobias
he makes
Harris
like 30 though, 35.
Yeah. He's close though. He's close.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say no. He was on a max contract.
Yeah.
It's got to be his last year, right? Of a 5-year max.
Bro, longest contract in the history of the NBA. Because the day it got signed, everybody was like,
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Setting up a trade down the road. That's what they're doing.
Setting up a trade for LeBron.
Yeah.
What he is down
This
is chestnut checkers, y'all.
I mean, he knows what he's doing. Come on.
LeBron's tweeting hourglasses. Daryl's tweeting a crystal ball, you know?
Tobias Harris, this is his last year on the deal. He's making $39.2 million this year.
Jeez.
Good agent. I don't know who his agent is. Good agent.
Jeez.
Good for him, indeed.
Has that Daryl Morey throwing it out there strategy ever worked? Has there ever been a GM who's been caught completely with their pants down and traded away something valuable to Daryl because he asked?
I mean, I guess kind of Harden.
Yeah.
You know?
Harden, definitely.
Although Harden just wanted, like, everyone always makes the mistake of like, well, they chose between him and like Harden wanted out.
So
Harden wanted his own team.
Like, I was going to say, didn't the Thunder call Daryl on that one?
Sort of, yeah. I mean, I think
the Thunder were definitely cheaping out.
But I've heard Daryl say that even he didn't know what he was getting.
I've heard, like, from a very good source on this matter that Harden didn't want to be there anymore. He wanted his own team. He wanted to shine. Like, it was not going to be like, oh, give me the max and I'll be happy. Like, no, he wanted to fucking be MVP.
Well, that's weird because he's never had any psychological or disposition issues ever since, right?
So he's good.
He's just been the perfect soldier.
Yeah.
From the beginning. But I think that logic to me is overdone because he's a restricted free agent. You offer him the most money possible. Shut up and play, right?
Shut up and dribble. We love that.
Shut up and dribble too, actually. Yeah, I would rather guys like Kyrie Irving not talk, just dribble. Yeah, I think I would rather that to be the case. I think I would rather not hear from Michael Porter Jr. on anything, about anything.
Let me say this. I disagree. I want to hear from them on everything.
Give him a podcast.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Imagine the two of them on a podcast.
Woo. Michael Porter Jr., he's big on the God stuff.
Oh, yeah.
He comes from a God situation, so he's big on that.
Yeah. Him and Jonathan
Just
Isaac.
hyper religiosity. But, I don't know what God factors into this, but I once was at NBA Summer League at the club Omnia in the Caesars Palace. I was sitting next to a couple of NBA players, and Michael Porter Jr. was maybe 8 feet away from us, and he was throwing money in the club. This isn't a strip club. This is a nightclub. That's not something that's done at a nightclub. He was throwing money in the club, and one of the NBA
throwing it
players,
up to God?
God is a woman, after all. One of the NBA players goes to the other one. One was a vet, one was a younger guy in sort of Michael Porter Jr.'s cohort of age anyway. And he's like, yo, what's up with this guy? And the older NBA player said, that's your generation, bruh. My generation, we would have never did that. We would never do that. We were taught better than that. That's y'all generation. I'm on my way out of this thing. That's y'all. But yeah, Michael Porter. And he was wearing sunglasses inside of the club, indoors. Wearing sunglasses indoors, one of the darkest clubs you can go to. Throwing money for no apparent reason.
Omnia's dark as fuck, man. Like,
yeah. And yeah, that's my Michael Porter Jr. story. Although played great defense in the playoffs last year. Good for him.
Sometimes, yeah. We like to. There's some weird push to be like, oh, Michael Porter Jr. has become a complete player. No, he hasn't. He hasn't. He's good,
bro.
That dude's still a gunner.
Bro, do not ask Michael Porter Jr. to pass anything. Don't ask him to pass the peas. Don't ask him to pass the rock. Don't ask him to pass the blunt. He's not passing. That's not his thing.
Maybe the offer plate. Maybe that. In a church. Hey, speaking of players with a lot of money, Kyle Kuzma.
Oh.
Big story from The Athletic, from Josh Robbins, my colleague at The Athletic, covers the Wizards. Essentially, the Mavericks had a deal in place to go get Kuz, right? They ended up trading for Daniel Gafford. They ended up trading for PJ Washington, but they had a deal in place to go get Kuz. And the Wizards brought this to Kuzma and said, we'll trade you. Is this what you want? No. He's built different, guys. He's here to build something with the Wizards. He doesn't have a no trade clause. Like, they didn't have to do this. They could have just sent him and everything. I don't know how, I got to ask this delicately. Do we think there's someone keeping him in DC? I know, he makes a lot of money. You can fly people all over the place. What's going on here? Or maybe just doesn't want to live in Dallas?
This won't surprise you guys, but it might surprise some people listening. Mm-hmm. NBA players and front office executives aren't always telling the truth to the media.
What?
No.
I know this sounds crazy. But yeah, sometimes they're giving us spin. And sometimes I think the spin is warranted. Sometimes I think when you're asked about your struggling teammate, it's important that you not go in the media and say, yeah, this nigga parties too much. He barely fucking works on his game. He doesn't watch film. He's unprofessional. Yeah, that's why he's fucking up.
He was throwing money in the club in the dark.
Sure. Even if that's true, it doesn't make sense to actually put that out in the media.
Right.
So you say something else. I think Kyle Kuzma, I actually really have a lot of respect for Kyle Kuzma, and
he's good.
Really like
he's
Kuzma.
Legitimately good.
He's legitimately a good player, and I think he's a really professional NBA player in the sense that he's like, all right, everybody knows I was on a trade block during the deadline.
There it is.
I didn't get moved, and he's signaling to everyone, the fans, media, whoever, these guys were trying to move me. It didn't happen. I'm still locked in here. I'm going to come in and still be professional, blah, blah, blah. And because he's such a good professional, because he's done a decent amount of media training, he's like, yo, I'm locked in. I believe in what we're doing in DC. I'm here for the long haul. Like, he's just saying the right athlete thing.
Mm-hmm.
And although I know he's lying to my face, I actually respect this tack that he took because it's professionalism. And quite frankly, a lot of these guys don't understand the nuances of being professional in these instances.
Now, his teammate, Jordan Poole, think he would do the same thing?
Well, that's what he's trying to build something with Jordan Poole.
On the basketball court?
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, so as ridiculous and cartoonishly bad and anti-team basketball as Jordan Poole is, I'll say this, especially the way he's handled the Draymond thing, he's been pretty nice and professional about it in public.
Yes.
He hasn't killed anybody when he could have. He's handled it pretty well. So maybe Jordan Poole does have some of this in him, where he has some self-awareness and can handle himself.
Has he been on the court?
He doesn't possess he just doesn't possess any of that restraint on the basketball court, man. Like, my God, dude.
Here's the weird thing. He does show restraint on the basketball court because he's like barely playing. He's not like jacking up a bunch of shots. He's just like, whatever. I don't care. I'm getting paid. I got a ring. My legacy's intact.
When do the Wizards become even moderately respectable?
1997.
Only looking backwards, not looking forward.
Shouts to Calbert Chaney, man.
Calbert Chaney, Rod Strickland, George Mirasan, Sheed Wallace, Juwan Howard. Weber was still there. Yeah.
I mean, I remember the quotes from the summer where Kuzma and Poole were both talking about how they've been on championship teams, and so they're going to bring championship experience,
legally
and
correct
guidance to the Wizards, and then the Wizard season happened, and so much for that. But I do want to ask you guys, would he be a better fit on Dallas than PJ Washington, or is PJ Washington a better prize regardless?
No, PJ Washington's not that good. Like he's an okay player. He reminds me a lot more of like Rui Hachimura, like pre-Lakers, you know, to where I was like I don't think PJ Washington's that good, but I could see him with Luka, like kind of having a similar glow up, right? Of like, oh, this guy now is on a team that isn't the Wizards or isn't the Hornets and can, you know, show some more talent with a guy who like sets the tone for him and everything. Like I could see that kind of thing. Like Kuzma's way better than him. I think the interesting thing is like, would you rather have Kuzma or Gafford? While Kuzma is the better player, Gafford is something they actually need, right? Like a rim protector, a rim runner, a vertical threat.
The sort of being the middle, occupying the middle of a spread pick and roll attack, right?
Yeah.
Where you put the shooters out there next to Luka and a vertical threat, and that just becomes really hard to guard. And having that element in the game at all times, meaning when Lively plays and when he sits, you know, I think the fit there is important. But yeah, Kyle Kuzma, and I hate being that guy, but he's just a better basketball player than PJ Washington as far as IQ and basketball know-how and understanding. He's a winning player.
Kuzma's really good, man. Like
he's so good, and he can make himself into different forms of players. Like in Washington, he's logging a more scoring role, but like for the Lakers, he was a freaking junkyard dog scrapper guy. He was off-ball cutter guy.
Turned himself into a defender,
defender guy. He was transition guy. He was, only attack closeouts, make wide open shots guy. Like, he can turn himself into a high-level role player if he needs to. And if, God forbid, something else happens, then he can transform himself into the kind of guy that has to take on a bigger burden. I think Kuzma's an excellent complimentary piece, man.
And I think that speaks to your comment about like how professional he is, right? Like he does just adapt. Like whatever you need, I'll do. Like it's not turning the Wizards into anything, but that's not his fault. That's not his problem.
So, to speak to what we're trying to play, so I can like sort of conceptualize for people that are listening, right? Because back when I was doing Hoops Adjacent with DA, and we had Phil Handy on, who's an assistant coach for the Lakers, obviously one of their skills work guys. I talked about Kuzma, and he basically was like, listen, this guy averaged 20 points a game his rookie year. You know what it's like in the NBA when guys basically become the kind of guys that score now. They be like, yo, this is who I am. What do you mean I got to go sit in the corner? What do you mean I got to crash the boards? What do you mean I got to do dirty work? Like, what do you mean I got to just take the assignments that LeBron doesn't feel like doing so he can take time off on defense every game, right? So it's not only just that he did that for the Lakers, he did that while he was trying to earn an extension. Like, think about that. For him to have the understanding that, like, I'm going to still do the team thing, even though most people would be like, the individual scoring shit is what's going to get me paid. So this guy could see the bigger picture in being part of a team that could win 60 games and ultimately win a championship while understanding that he was still kind of playing for money. Again, it just speaks to Kuzma's professionalism. I know we sound like Kuzma stands, but I really do think because he dresses really flamboyantly, he'll dye his hair blonde, that some people might look at that and think of like a diva version of the NBA player, but he's not, man. Like he's a worker.
We talked to him on NBA radio months ago, and I asked him about like the fashion stuff. Like, do you even keep the stuff? Whatever. And he's like, oh yeah, I have it like this, like art. Like I have it like displayed at home, like in frames and stuff like that. Like some of the fashion things he's worn. So I think in that way, Woz, you're 100% right. But like, and from a basketball player, like, because every once in a while people are like, oh, Kuzma, I'm like, no, you got to watch him. Like he's
Kuzma's good, man.
Good. He legitimately could play on any team and help them. Any team. And
I would have liked to see the Warriors get Kuzma in there.
100%.
I think he would be an amazing Steph Curry complimentary guy.
Or even if the Mavs could have gotten Gafford and Kuz instead of PJ Washington, if that deal was on the table in some way, I mean, to me, the Mavs would shoot up there with the top of the West. Like they would be right there with all those teams. Because I think
sounds great. That sounds really exciting. Too bad he's got things to build in DC.
He sure does. Maybe he just has like a lot of IKEA furniture in his home in DC, and he's just like, I got shit to build here,
Big
man.
Allen wrench guy,
big assembler. Yeah, I want to do a temperature check with Woz here.
Oh man,
to tie into his two greatest like communities that he's tapped into, right? Who has embraced a player more? Is it the Knicks and their fandom when it comes to OG Anunoby, right? That acquisition earlier this year. We know how Knicks fans have reacted to this. They've been great with him. He's a little injured right now, but soared through January, right? Or the Prairie, OKC, bringing Gordon Hayward to the farm.
Gordie going to the Prairie. It's just, you can't write something this brilliant or genius. It's perfect. It's literally perfect that this guy is going to a part of the country that, let's face it, is a football region. I mean, most of America's a football region, but at least we have these pockets of places that really dig basketball. And for this type of guy to come on the market, man, and to end up in OKC, in the Plains, it's just perfect. I would love to see him get some big belt buckles, get a cowboy hat going, a la Bruce Brown.
Cowboy hat is tough when you have all that hair product, though. Okay, it's just it's not easy.
Fair.
Just a bolo tie, then.
He can afford the dry cleaning on that, though. He's got Bartelstein got him a pretty sweet deal from Mitch Kupchak.
Yeah.
I think he can afford to ruin a couple of cowboy hats. But man, OG on the Knicks is crazy though. Like, I never knew there was such a thing as a record for plus minus, but Knick fans let me know.
Oh, really? You didn't read Ethan Strauss writing about Ekpe Udoh back in the early 2010s? I'm just going to compliment myself. What a great pull there. All right.
Nice so real quick though, it reminded me of the old Basket Buds intro. I think it was where it's from some conversation where Zach is gassing up Woz as usual, and he says, "If we could get Gordie in Atlanta."
Well, we have
the opposite.
We've had Gordie in Salt Lake City. We had him in Boston. We have him now in OKC.
Yeah,
he is one signing with his hometown Indiana Pacers away.
Yeah, away from
the ultimate white player. The ultimate white player.
Completing the white American hoopers. It's like how Muslims have to go to Mecca. As a white American hooper, you have to do all of those.
You have to hit these 4 cities. Yes.
Or it's like the Stations of the Cross.
Yes.
You feel me? For my Christians out there.
Oh, yeah.
For my Catholics out there.
You got a Buddhist comparison to keep this going? Or
Boston, Salt Lake, OKC, and Indiana. Yeah. It's the big 4. For sure.
That's the big 4 for a white basketball player. Never buy
OG's
a drink
been
ever
amazing,
again.
though. All jokes aside.
Incredible. Oh no, that's about as perfect a trade as you can get.
It's insane. I'm not gonna lie, I haven't watched too many Raptors games since 2020, since the bubble year where they gave Boston everything they could freaking handle.
Yeah.
OG, by the way, strapped the shit out of Tatum that series, like literally on an island, had that man in a straitjacket. He had him in hell. I haven't watched the Raptors like super closely because they've just been this middling team because Masai Ujiri is so stubborn. But I didn't realize how huge this guy was.
Oh, he's like 6'9", and he's built.
So many small forwards in the league these days
are actually like 6'4".
6'5".
Yeah.
It's Josh Hart's just playing small forward just for the fuck of it, right? Yeah. There's so many guys, Bruce Brown playing small forward just for the hell. There's so many of these guys who, become tweener. They're guards, but they're tweeners, so we let them play small forward. And so I'm just like, yeah, OG's probably like a good 6'6", maybe 6'7" or whatever. No, this guy is huge.
Tall as fuck, yeah.
With the ridiculous wingspan, with the strength.
Yeah.
Like, his hands are super strong. Just his core strength is crazy. The instinct, his nose for the ball, where he's not even in the play, he's on the weak side, and just his nose for putting himself in the play and then still recovering if an offensive play somehow even manages to get it out.
He's got like bear traps for hands too.
Yeah.
Like, just incredible hands. Yeah, no, he's been incredible. We mentioned earlier the Lakers did not trade LeBron James despite the most half-assed efforts by the rest of the league. Shout out to everybody on Valentine's Day tonight. The Lakers did make a move though. They signed Spencer Dinwiddie. He had to choose between going back to the Mavericks, where he played already for two halves of a season, and this Lakers team. And I don't want to tell you why he chose the Lakers. I'll let him tell you why he chose the Lakers. This is,
also, if you listen to our Monday episode's Patreon, we had Courtside Trey breaking down his courtside conversations with Spencer Dinwiddie and Mark Cuban. But yeah, let's hear Spencer's version of it.
I'll give y'all something funny that I told my people, because I'm fairly candid. There's two situations how I felt like this, right? Let's say you were a kid, you got your ass whooped by the bully. Dallas would have been like your mama being like, it's okay, baby, don't worry about it. Lakers are like, your dad, now you better go out there and fight till you win. You feel me? And I just felt like that was what I needed at the time. You feel me? So I'm a big believer in kind of doing what you need to do at whatever time it is. So that's how I felt about it.
I put this in the newsletter, the gif of Michael Scott from The Office. Sometimes I'll start a sentence and I don't even know where it's going. I just hope I find it along the way. That's what that was.
Because I don't, maybe he's talking about the media. Maybe he's just talking about the spotlight, where it's like the LA spotlight is tougher and more scrutinized. Maybe, I'm guessing. I don't know. But this wouldn't be the first time Spencer Dinwiddie said something that was a little out there.
Yeah. He's got a weird reputation, man, of like,
he's a crypto
really
bro.
Don't like him. Yeah, teammates end up really not liking him, right? And I don't think they think he's just annoying to them. I've heard that a lot.
He was in Washington and he was trying to instill a culture there.
Trying to build
and guys
something.
are like, what the fuck are you doing? You're Spencer Dinwiddie. What culture have you ever invented before? Am I making it up that he had a problem with Kyrie? No?
I don't remember that, but I wouldn't rule it out.
What happened with the Brooklyn thing?
Well, he got traded for Kyrie, right?
Was he traded for Kyrie? Kyrie got signed, though.
Oh, that's right. Oh, because he was on Brooklyn.
I don't remember. Anyway, he's been on so many freaking teams since, the culture Nets, which...
No, because he was on that team, and then he got signed and traded to the Wizards, then traded to the Mavs, then traded for Kyrie. Right? That's how he ended up back on Brooklyn.
Got you. So I don't remember. It was, I guess the Wizards thing that was famously blew up or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't think he, wore Rivals Air Jordans in Dallas the way Grant Williams did.
Oh my God. Grant Williams is probably the most annoying. I mean, they tried to damage control after that story.
You could see him being legitimately annoying.
Yeah. Because that's the difference between him and like Kyrie was not great for the Celtics, right? In his time there. But when he came back and faced those, like those guys legitimately like, hey, maybe we didn't love playing with Kyrie, but we love Kyrie. We love him. Like, he's a guy that we're friends with and everything. This shit did not have a Grant coming back to Boston. They were like, fuck this dude. I don't want
everybody. Yeah. He's got big teacher's pet energy.
Huge teacher's pet energy right there.
He just wants to sit at the front of the damn class every day.
Raise his hand on every question.
Every single question.
We are going to now end this episode unless you are part of that Patreon. Patreon.com/countthedings, where you will hear not only Woz's thoughts on the movie Blue Chips, which is coming out on Cinephobe, at least part 1 this week, part 2 next week, but also Draymond Green show versus Jusuf Nurkic, all coming up right now on the Patreon. All right. Draymond Green released a 38-minute podcast.
Oh my God.
In which he talked about a lot of things.
Talked
about like the recent surge by the Warriors, and Kuminga's play is better, and all, like some good insight there. And he talked about like the dunk contest, and he couldn't believe that like Jacob Toppin's there instead of Obi Toppin, and wondering like, should we really be letting G League guys into this thing? Then it's not the NBA's dunk contest. Like, some good points, right? Some predictions for All-Star Weekend, what that's like and everything. And then for an 8-minute chunk in the middle of this podcast, from about 14 minutes to about 22 minutes, he absolutely eviscerates Jusuf Nurkic. He refers to him as the little guy throughout the whole thing, and yet the physical stature of Nurkic increases throughout the segment. In that, at first he's 70 pounds heavier than me, then he's 80 pounds heavier than me, then he's like, now you're 100 pounds heavier than I am, and you still can't like physically move. Like, it's incredible, the myth building or myth destruction, I guess, of Jusuf Nurkic that Draymond employs. But the thing that I felt like, whatever, like he's talking shit. He's basically, my resume is not your resume. Like, you're like, we don't even concern ourselves with the little guys. I'm like, well, you spent 8 minutes on this fucking thing, so you kind of concern yourself a little bit with it. But the main problem he had from all this, which I think why he went so nuts during that game, I don't think it's the whole like, that guy doesn't deserve a chance, I was wrong, I take it back. Like, it's just a matter of time. While he did address that, that wasn't my takeaway from this. Was I believe that it has everything to do with the original comments after the original hit that brought the final straw for the suspension, in which, saying he needs help. KD talking about it. I think he was more upset about KD talking about this publicly than anything that happened with Nurk.
Mental midget. He does.
Yes. And he called it cowardly. He's like, it's cowardly to openly question someone's character like that to the media.
That's what cowards do.
What the fuck are you doing? That's all you do. It's questioning everyone's character.
I think with Draymond, and if you'll allow me, because I've watched, I don't know, but I did, because I covered it on our YouTube show at The Ringer. Yeah. I watched the entirety of Draymond's comeback pod from his self-induced exile, where he said he contemplated retirement. Yeah, I remember that. He was in his man cave and wasn't going to leave it, but in his own house. But his daughter came and saved him from it. Steve Kerr came over. They both cried on each other's shoulder. He told Adam Silver he contemplated retirement. It was so fucking said,
please don't go. Please don't go. We can make this work.
Draymond, we need you.
Yeah.
Man, just some of the shit this guy said, it was just nuts. I think what he's talking about, why he's upset about that is, one, he didn't do no therapy for real. Like, we know that. He knows that. Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
Two, we know he doesn't. He knows that he doesn't think he needs therapy, but why he thinks it's cowardly is that they're doing this in public, and they know, because of the position that he's in, he can't actually respond.
Right.
Because if he comes out and says, fuck that therapy shit, I don't need that shit, this is bullshit, you crazy, I'm Draymond, I'm good, blah, blah, blah.
This is a man's game, you can't handle me, blah, blah, you're a bunch of bitches, all that shit,
He'd blow his cover.
Yeah.
So that's why he thinks it's cowardly. He's like, these guys know I can't afford to blow my cover with this therapy shit, and they're doing this in public. Like, this is corny. That's why it's cowardly, because they know he's lying. He knows he's lying about this therapy, conversion, blah, blah, blah. But he can't come out and do it in public. And he knows KD knows it. He knows Nurk knows it. That's why Nurk is like, yeah, therapy, little bitch, little therapy boy, therapy bitch. You know, they know he can't come back and say the therapy bit was bullshit. I never needed it in the first place. Yada, yada, yada.
Maze, do we have... Oh, go ahead.
You're an honest podcaster, though,
I
right,
am.
Zach?
Yeah, says it right there.
Is it cowardly to be honest? Like Jusuf Nurkic was?
No.
Is that cowardly?
No. It's honest to be honest.
No.
Do we have a clip to play for the? I
want to hear it.
The whole 8-minute segment is incredible. Oh, they got the art and everything. Oh, they're ready for
the
this.
Little guy goes in the media and he says, "I take my words back. He doesn't deserve another chance. It's only a matter of time before he hits someone else." And quite frankly, I would love to know, why is it only a matter of time before I hit someone else? Because I destroyed him? You're just not good enough. You're not good enough offensively.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm going to play it again.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, I would love to know, why is it only a matter of time before I hit someone else? Because I destroyed him?
Okay. Let me answer this, Draymond, as an unbiased observer, okay? Let me answer this. Mostly just a matter of time because your history of violent acts on a basketball court is pretty unmatched. And also, that entire fourth quarter of him against Nurk the other night. Look, Draymond kept it going. He didn't hit anybody, right? He didn't hit anybody. He was absolutely unhinged. He's scoring layups. Like, he made a couple layups in the fourth quarter and is screaming at the top of his lungs shit talk to Nurkic and to KD. After that final stop, and he reveals that, like, that he thought KD's comments 2 months ago were cowardly and all this stuff, right? Like, he reveals this in the episode. But when he gets that stop on KD, he is screaming at KD and at Nurkic in a manner where I thought, watching that live, oh, fuck, he's about to get a technical foul after the buzzer. We might go to overtime. I need to see if that's even a rule. Like, I thought, like, that's why it's just a matter of time, Draymond, because you clearly have not learned anything from your quote unquote therapy. You've learned jack shit, which, to be fair, it's hard to cure therapy in 3 weeks. It is. Like, you can't do that. That's not how therapy works. You don't do it 3 times and you're like, I'm good. This isn't like a trip to Dave & Buster's to win a fucking teddy bear. Like, that's not what this is. Draymond, please continue.
I'm good, folks. We did it. We covered it. I'm good. You know,
Draymond, please continue.
It's good. It was like, you know, you had a little kink in your neck and you went to the masseuse and it's like, I'm good. They got the kink out. I'm good. I'm ready.
Good, man. I can move my neck. Look how I turn it.
It's like a me going to yoga and saying, I can breathe for the first time in my life.
Yes.
It's incredible. This breathing stuff.
Yeah, Draymond. Why is it only a matter of time? Because in the past, it's only been a matter of time.
Yeah.
Suspension, losing money, ridicule, losing the finals, all of it. Those things never fucking mattered.
Yeah.
Only thing that mattered for the next hit was time. We would give you time.
Championship lost did not stop you from being this way. Like, nothing's going to, right? Like, it's just not that. And like, why is it only a matter of time? I don't know. Let me gesture at history. There. That's
Zach,
why.
it is funny to hear Nurkic say, I take it back.
I take it back.
I take backs. I take it back.
That's the thing, right?
I take it back.
Draymond destroys him in this episode, but the whole time I just think, like, Nurk's kind of won this by just keeping it concise and very poignant, right? It's funny the way he handles versus Draymond's like, well, what if I did 8 minutes on this shit?
Yeah.
The little guy.
The little guy with the big segment. Let's finish this out.
You're just not good enough. You're not good enough offensively. You had Steph Curry on post-ups and you got nothing. Quite frankly, outweighs me by 80 pounds and 6 inches. Little guy tries to post up, tries to back me down, only to shoot a hook shot from the dotted, not the restricted area, from the dotted line in the paint, which means you made no progress on getting towards the rim, slapping the floor, the whole thing. And quite frankly, you're just not good enough to do things like that. You see clowns like that do things like that. And it's actually very disrespectful to the game. It's disrespectful to the player that you're doing it to. And the clown decides to kind of turn his body towards me. All right, well, bring your chest here. Because now your shoulder should meet my chest. You should get put in the rim. And then that's what happened. Oh, and by the way, we all can do the little slap the floor too small celebration.
So what they cut out this, that was very heavily edited because trust me, that thing fucking dragged.
Shouts to Jackson Stefan, Draymond Green's producer.
Jackson does a great job producing this show. I genuinely mean that. I think Jackson does a great job. There's a point in there because he's talking about like how Nurk turned his back to or turned his shoulders away, right? And he did that to Giannis recently, and Draymond didn't name it as Giannis, but he was like, I saw it recently in a game. He did that with the guy at the 3-point line, and the guy shot it and he missed, and he grabbed the rebound. And he's like, that's so disrespectful. You don't do that kind of thing. It's disrespectful to our league, to the players, to the history of the game, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, you call people bitches and pussies and yell at them on the court constantly. Constantly. Like, don't get me wrong. What he did, like, he gave him the Giannis treatment, right? Of like, oh, I'm turning my back down. I'm going to wave that off. I'm not worried about that. Giannis was 23 feet, 9 inches from the basket when he did it. Draymond was 12. Like, to do that to Draymond 12 feet from the basket is, one, funny as fuck. And two, super disrespectful. And three, the fact that Draymond like then scored on him inside from that makes it the whole thing just funny all around on all sides.
The ugliest hook shot I've ever seen in my life, by the way, but it is what it is.
Yeah, he's like, I put you in the rim. It's like, well, not really, but it's okay. Yeah.
Shaq would disagree.
Shaq would disagree. Shaq's put some people in the rim there. But yeah, man, like that whole thing is just it sucks that they're not going to play again this year. It really we need some kind,
I hope they play in the play-in or something. I hope we somehow get that. Maybe
I guess we could get a play-in matchup. Yeah, we could get a play-in matchup.
Let's pray for the 4-5 or the play-in because I need to see it in games with stakes.
Pacers Bucks too. That's the other one we want to see again.
Oh yeah,
Pacers Bucks has to happen. But because oh my god,
please
make that happen.
The game ball,
the game ball, the game ball incident. Yeah. Before we go, we did blue chips this week for Cinephobe, actually this week and next week because we did so much. We got a special guest for it for part 2 of the episode. Blue chips, the Shaquille O'Neal, Penny Hardaway. Nick Nolte vehicle about college hoops recruiting scandals from 1994. Is this a movie you like? What are your thoughts on Blue Chips?
It's not a movie I like. It's a movie I love. I absolutely love Blue Chips. One, because of its unsentimental portrayal or view or their viewpoint of college athletics, the business of college athletics. It's so like, yeah, this is bullshit. This whole amateurism, shamateurism nonsense is bullshit. They're like, this is a cynical ass world. There's big money involved, big egos involved. It's as American as anything else that we do. I take that view of the movie. And then Nick Nolte as just like a degenerate guy who, like, Nick Nolte's face looks like a guy who's been through some shit.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Like a guy who spent a few nights killing a fifth of whiskey by himself.
Yeah.
And smoking half a pack of some heaters by himself. Like, he looks like that person. He wears it so beautifully. And then of course, and I'm not the first person to say this, but using actual hoopers as the star of the movie and just getting them to do a little acting is brilliant. We gave Anthony Edwards and Juancho mad props for the Adam Sandler movie or whatever, but Blue Chips did that shit 30 years ago, right? Like, they understood that, like, yo, we can get, let's face it, acting isn't fucking hard. Looking like a professional hooper actually is. And so
that's way harder.
We can get some professional hoopers to do some fake acting and make this shit look great, man. Now, Shaq shooting on a inner tube in some Louisiana swamp. I thought
Algiers.
I thought was weird. But man, I fucked with that movie. I love that movie. Love Blue Chips.
Yeah, I threw up on the screen here that Nick Nolte was People's Sexiest Man Alive in 1992, right before he made Blue Chips. How does that make you feel?
White people be lying.
Wow. Wow.
That's how that makes me feel.
We're not gonna tie a bow on that episode any better than white people be lying. So thank you for being Patreon subscribers. Make sure you check out everything on Count the Dings Network. Check out The Ringer. Check out The Athletic. Check out everything we got, and check out that Blue Chips Part 1 episode. Basically, right. Well, if you're a Patreon subscriber, you can check it out right now. It's up on the Patreon feed.